Welcome to the 2024 ORBIS Compliance Webinar Series, keeping you a step ahead. Today's presentation is on Telecom law proposal that is under public consultation regarding IFT-016 and IFT-017. ORBIS is the leading solution for regulatory expertise for telecom, safety, medical, energy efficiency, cybersecurity, battery takeback, and recycling. We are headquartered in the Silicon Valley, with supporting offices in key countries in Latin America with decades of experience in the different industries. ORBIS is a strategic partner to manufacturers in 135 countries from all around the world, supporting their market entry efforts from the onset, providing engineering and legal expertise that result in timely and accurate executions. ORBIS works directly with regulatory agencies, without intermediaries, protecting your IP through our closed network and continuously solving and improving regulatory processes for clients. ORBIS puts you in control of your regulatory affairs. Your hosts today are Ms. Elizabeth Perry, CEO of ORBIS. She will be leading today's webinar along with our internal expert telecom engineer director, Marcelo Tejada. Our goal is to provide a clear and concise explanation of the current state of regulations in Mexico in terms of new technical provisions that will regulate and standardize all radio communication systems. Our ORBIS experts will concentrate on Mexico and give you the panoramic view of the regulations so you can start planning internally to make key decisions. Our mission is to keep our community updated and be there for you to guide and support in your success. On today's agenda, we will start with the IFT initiatives and regulatory timeline. We'll then look at the proposed regulations from a technical scope, go into the regulatory benefits as well as the regulatory impact, then discuss the business impact before concluding with our Q&A session. And let me pass things on to Ms. Elizabeth Perrier.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome everyone to today's Mexico session, where our goal is to inform, clarify, and empower you with new knowledge that helps you make the important decisions. Our topic today is on the testing protocols proposed by Mexico Telecom Regulatory Body, IFT, whose primary goal with this proposed change is to align standards with the international community. We will discuss in depth the reasons for the new proposed protocols and the impact to manufacturers, laboratories, certifying bodies, and distributors. It is important to note that this new proposal has brought a lot of discussion since there is an overlap with current regulations and the reason why this webinar was organized to support our community. We will touch on all of the above in the next 30 minutes, so let's get started. We start by describing the Telecommunications Regulatory Body, the Federal Institute of Telecommunications, IFT for short. It is an autonomous body that regulates Mexico's radio spectrum, telecommunications infrastructure, and networks, and service to its citizens. It was created in June of 2013. The two divisions involved in this technical proposal are the Spectrum Division, whose mandate is to manage the national spectrum, and the Commissions and Services Division, who oversees the product approval in compliance to Mexico's Conformity Assessment Framework. This regulatory timeline makes it visual how active Mexico is in updating its regulations. In 2023, we had important changes. On March 27, 2023, band 2925 to 6425 MHz opened to allow new technologies in the 6 GHz band. At the end of the year, we had two important public consultations. One on November 10th, proposing to analyze the use of the 162 MHz band. On December 1st, there was the proposal to create two new technical protocols, IFT-016 and IFT-017, affecting the bands from 30 MHz to 3 GHz and the 5 GHz band. The deadline for comment was scheduled for January 29, 2024. Due to much industry discussion, a request to extend the deadline was granted to March 29, 2024. Manufacturers, laboratories, and certifying bodies have collaborated and submitted comments to the proposed new regulation. ORBIS has participated in these forums as soon as actually this week. Independently, ORBIS has submitted its comments for the changes to the regulation in early January. What's the scope of IFT-016 and IFT-017 and how do they differ? IFT-016 is the testing protocol to be applied to low-power radio communication devices that operate in the 30 MHz to 3 GHz bands. IFT-017 considers all radio communication equipment that uses digital modulation and operates in portions of the 5 GHz band that were not covered by IFT-008, the testing protocol for the NOM-208. The bands included in IFT-017 are between the bands of 5150 to 6425 MHz. IFT-016 aims to bring all lower power devices categories under a testing protocol and deprecating or eliminating the Pareto process and creating a clear product classification and electrical power limits. It's good to clarify what is the Pareto process. It is a regulatory process where an IFT accredited engineer reviews the technical documentation of a product that works in the bands that are not currently regulated in Mexico. This is a very useful tool for Mexico as engineers are able to validate technology that may not be regulated in Mexico as of yet. However, it allows that technology to be available to the public through this technical review and validation that the product is safe to operate in Mexican territory. For several years, the bands in the 5 GHz band outside the 5125 and 5850 MHz was approved via Pareto process. The Pareto process has a yearly validity, with a renewal process on the second year where the request for approval becomes permanent. Companies that are within the renewal process will need clarification on how to proceed when this new protocol is approved. It is important to highlight that the Pareto process is being eliminated for the bands affecting low-power devices, namely IFT-016. It is still available for other bands that do not have a testing protocol or a NOM assignation. The categories for IFT-016 are the following: all general low-power devices, wireless microphones, cordless phones, hearing aids, and wireless alarms. Going further on the product category, we list product types as remote and radio controls, wireless microphones, alarms, to name a few of the consumer products in this category. On the industrial side, we name a few of the product types, such as telemetry products, automatic vehicle identification, railway application, and more. The frequency bands are listed here, where it shows the overlap with the IFT-008 bands in the 900 MHz range and the 24 MHz. This is the area of debate and clarification requested by our community. For a Bluetooth device that currently complies to IFT-008, with this publication of IFT-016 would require for both applications to be tested in a laboratory, or would the validation of that test report be granted to a manufacturer? This is one of the areas where the clarification and the comments are very much needed in this new proposal, and we encourage everyone affected to voice their opinion before March 29th. We now move to IFT-017 technical proposal, which provides the band applicability and the technical information. In this protocol, the Pareto process is eliminated for the 5150 to 6425 MHz band. The draft protocol is applicable to all products that use wireless access in local area networks in the bands indicated. This protocol does not provide a list of product categories. It is important to note the difference between IFT-017 and IFT-008 testing protocol. IFT-008 covers the 902-928 MHz band, also known as the UHF band, the 2400 to 2483.5 MHz band for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi technology, and the 5725 to 5850 MHz band, all for products using frequency hopping and digital modulation. In contrast, IFT-017 covers bands from 5150 to the 6425 MHz band. It considers all these bands to be fixed and only using digital modulation and having the frequency hopping modulation off. These are the proposed power levels in the frequency ranges. There is a lot of discussion around these proposed levels as laboratories explain difficulties in meeting measurements proposed, especially measuring bandwidth levels. Proposals under discussion by laboratories and certifying bodies include advocating to align to power levels to FCC 1540, Section 7, version 4, 15 and 407B, Section 7, and FCC 15.33, Section A. An important aspect of IFT-017 is the frequency range 5725 MHz to 5850 MHz band. Currently, this band is a licensed band. IFT-017 provides an opportunity to consider to allow other technologies to coexist and a licensed band for not only for radar systems but for other products with new technologies. The band range uses digital and hybrid modulation with digital and frequency hopping modulation. Opening up this licensed band would benefit many manufacturers and the Mexico population, as new products allow them to modernize their telecommunication infrastructure. If you are a company that has products in these bands and are affected by this restriction in Mexico, please get involved to submit your comments. If you need assistance, please reach out to us. ORBIS currently is leading an effort and working directly with IFT's officials to facilitate dialogue. As a last item, we talk about exceptions. Only IFT-016 considers some exceptions as they are related to products that are designed to be used for rescue, security, and relief purposes, and for products working in dedicated spectrum. IFT-017 does not contemplate any exceptions. This concludes the introduction to IFT-016 and IFT-017. I am pleased to turn over the presentation to Ingeniero Marcelo Tejera, who will discuss in detail the technical scope of both draft protocols. Marcelo?
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for giving me the floor. Well, regarding the impact of everyday use, it is broad and always evolving, where the internet connectivity of many devices and machines for daily use requires greater bandwidth of the radio spectrum. The impact is greater in IoT products with 41%, followed by cellular networks with 32%, and finally satellite connections and wired connections with 12% each, which requires having adequate regulation for low-power devices such as a priority. The draft provision 016 wants to demonstrate the need to have a technical regulations that first establishes technical specifications and second establishes the limits and frequency bands in which the devices mentioned above can operate. Therefore, the objective is to establish uniform technical specifications for all devices that operated in the range of the 30 MHz to 3 GHz. In addition to the technical testing procedures that will be held facilitating compliance. Moving forward with the challenges of draft 016. Another objective is to categorize low-power radio communication equipment. helping to have a better understanding of the type of the devices that will be involved. As secondary objective or collateral impact, there will be first, prevention or harmful interference to another devices that operate in the licensed service. Second, a support or legal basis for consultation for all users, distributors, and manufacturers of the type of devices. And third, better harmonization of technical specification adopting international regulatory aspects. Now we will see what happens with the provisional draft 017 in terms of the external reasons that force the IFT regulator to take a step forward regarding the regulation of radio communication devices that are within the frequency between 5150 to 7125 MHz. There are three aspects to consider. First, modern wireless devices, where they force the regulator to make decisions and share compatibility studies for the new generation of wireless access systems. Second, categorization of devices, where they will help to have a better understanding of all the wireless system involved, such as local area network devices, low and very low power devices, WLAN, and the services that are already operated in the bands within the already mentioned above. Third, have updated technical regulations, where it is the purpose to implement different strategies and reference of technical parameters that allow operating new generation WLAN devices in different segments, coexisting with already established services. What are the benefits and challenges that could be had with this new regulation? The impact of different organizations, whether governmental, international associations, and also the industry itself, will be beneficial but also challenging. Where after the regulator reaches a consensus and approves these provisions, there will be a long journey of technical analysis and adoption of the new determinations, but with a beneficial result of having a regulatory uniformity of all devices involved. That as a result will be promote the departure of the market with the last generation WLAN devices that can be operated in free bands but previously regulated to coexist within the intended range. Moving forward with the provisional draft 017, the Mexican regulator must take into account the best long-term regulatory benefits. It is not only focused on the guaranteeing technical specifications, but also that it's alongside technological evolution and market trends. Furthermore, within the analysis carried out by the IFT, the particularities and needs of the Mexican market are considered. In the next slide, an analysis of the number of the procedures approved by the IFT will be shown you. In that sense, for a better vision of the scope and impact of the proposed regulation in Mexico, the information is shown from the year 2013 to December 2022 regarding the historical number of approval procedures through technical expert opinion in the 6 GHz frequency bands. Now, the impact of the new technical regulatory framework in Mexico, a number of close 2,600 conformity evaluation pursuits with their corresponding approval would be estimated for devices that use frequency bands in 6 GHz, which of course would increase due to the incorporation of the 5,725 to 5,850 MHz and 5,925 MHz to 6,425 MHz bands, mainly for devices with Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E. The IFT proposal is the development of a regulatory instrument that has the scope of a regulatory administrative provision where the following technical points are established. First, technical requirements to standardize all devices. Second, define test methods. And the last, specific evaluation procedures for device or radio communication systems with wireless access to local area radioelectric networks and the radio communication device that use digital modulation technique that operate in a free spectrum. Moving forward with the challenges of Draft 017, the principal objective is to have an administrative oversight that is applicable to wireless access equipment operation in the radio networks of the 6 and 5 GHz band. As secondary objectives or collateral impact, there will be first, promote market opening with other countries through compatibility and harmonization in equivalence of the USA and Canada. Second, a support or legal basis for consultation for all users, distributors, and manufacturers of this type of devices. And the last, guarantee technical specifications, more secure and reliable communication in a complex scenes. The regulatory benefits are different, ranging from having a legal technical document for consultation and application to the opening of new wireless technologies, therefore new markets, which will be explained below. Now, entering into the benefits that Provision 016 would have, they are summarized in 3 points. 1. New specification techniques, establishing perimeter limits, testing methods, and evaluation procedures. 2. Harmonization with international standards, and the last, establishing a regulation instrument mandatory. All these points are very important when understanding the regulation that has really been agreed upon. Regarding the immediate benefits that Regulation 017 has, it is having technical and legal support on the technical specifications, limits, test methods, and evaluation procedures. On the other hand, have a multi-regulatory regulation where there can be a coexistence between free band service and licensed service, and finally achieve a low signal-to-noise level to avoid interferences with the licensed operations signals against the new service that we also operate in the 5 GHz and 6 GHz band. Please, Elizabeth, I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Marcelo. Allow us to recap all share and bring it to what's important. How does it impact us? At the regulatory level, it is important to understand that these new proposals are technical proposals that are not eliminating or replacing an existing testing protocol, nor it is modifying a current testing protocol. It does not create a new norm at the moment, but it creates new testing protocols for bands that currently were not being tested. Who are the parties affected with IFT-016? Manufacturers. Possible cost increases due to the additional testing and longer lead time at the laboratory. Overall, higher costs to enter the Mexico market. Testing laboratories would require time investment to train lab personnel and obtain accreditation by the authorities. Additional equipment may be needed to conduct testing. However, they benefit to the increase in revenue as more bands are tested for a larger number of products in the market. Certifying bodies may need to adjust their internal procedures to reflect the additional lab requirements and a possible accreditation to new norm creation. Distributors, due to all the adjustments by the other regulatory bodies and labs that may be taking longer to test product, may experience delays in bringing product in country with potential revenue losses. Who are the parties affected with IFT-017? Certificate holders that currently have a Perito process and are at the 1-year process to obtain a permanent certificate. There is no clarity on how to proceed with the renewal if this is implemented. Certifying bodies who must adjust again their internal process to become accredited in this new law. And laboratories, again, new equipment, training, and accreditation impact. We also look at the business impact. For IFT-016, low-power devices in this scope will require an homologation certificate. When implemented, the custom database will be updated to reflect this new requirement in HS codes and will trigger a documentation request at the point of entry. For IFT-017, its implementation will promote healthy competition in the radar system sector and other technologies. It also benefits by standardizing the procedures for manufacturers, importers, and distributors. It also standardizes the testing protocol for all wireless radio communication equipment and eliminates the documentation revision process. In conclusion, there have been several weeks of discussion in our community in response to this public consultation. If you are interested in voicing your opinion or concerns, you still can, since March 29th is the closing date for comments. If you need support, don't hesitate to contact us. This is the conclusion of our presentation. We thank you for being with us this morning. Tom, I turn it over to you for the Q&A.